Okay, well, I think that we're going to start, and we'll have a nice, intimate, small group, which is a nice treat. That way, you can all get your questions answered. I'm Rachel Buckman. I am the Education Associate at Sefaria, and with me today is Lizzie Franco, who is the Communications and Marketing Associate. The way we're going to run this is that I'm going to present and ask you, if you have questions, to please write it in the chat. And along the way, I'll take some breaks, and then Lizzie will ask the questions for you. And at the end, if anybody would like to stay on longer, I'm happy to answer any other questions. You'll notice in the chat that Lizzie put the link to our source sheet. This has all kinds of information for you. We'll also be sending this out after with a recording of the webinar. So if you want to go back and see something, or I think I've put all the links that I think that we would be using on the sheet so that you don't have to worry about taking notes on anything or remembering really anything. I want to point out first, I always like to mention on a webinar that I know when I do these webinars as the attendee, I know that it all makes a lot of sense while I'm listening to it. And then I sit in front of my computer by myself and I forget some of it. So on here, we have different places that you can go for help. We have an FAQ group that has all kinds of information. And we also have our helpline, which is you send an email to hello@sefaria.org, and we'll get back to you usually within 24 hours with answers to your questions. And please don't feel bad if you know that we mentioned it in the webinar. It's okay. For me, it takes a few times to do something or to be explained something before I really get it. So don't just feel free to, any questions that you have. So I'd like to just start by introducing a little bit about Sefaria, and I'm going to switch now to the homepage of the Sefaria library. And so we are the people of the book, and for thousands of years, our culture, our traditions, and our values have been transmitted through our texts, from an oral tradition to handwritten scrolls to a vast corpus of printed books. Each new medium democratized knowledge and brought more people into the great Jewish conversation. And now we are the generation charged with shepherding our texts from print to digital in a way that can expand their reach and impact in new and unprecedented ways. And Sefaria is doing this in a big way. The Sefaria library currently consists of over 4,500 index records that are linked together with almost 2.5 million intertextual links. Today's webinar is called A Deep Dive because we're going to dive into Sefaria's vast library and see what wonderful discoveries we can make. This is already assuming a little bit of Sefaria knowledge. We also have a Sefaria 101 webinar, not that you had to do that. But so in the beginning, I'll be a little bit introductory and then try to go to things that you haven't seen before or maybe didn't even know that we have. So whereas in the olden days, we wandered through library stacks to find the treasures, today with Sefaria, we can do it even better with a click of a mouse, which lets us follow along and participate in the conversations that have been going on for thousands of years. We hope to give you the tools that you can swim around in this after our big dive and make wonderful discoveries on your own. You're going to learn how texts are interconnected in the Sefaria library, how to navigate the library, how to learn about the works that you find. That's a big part of what we'll be doing. Who wrote them? How can you use them? And you will meet some of our lesser known texts. And we've had some new features that I'm really happy to show you that you might not have known that we have. I'm going to be working on the website. Most of what I'm doing can also be done on the app, although it might look different. When there's a major difference, I'll try to remember to point it out. So just to begin to review, I'm going to do this really quickly because I'm sure that you know how to do this. If you're looking for a specific text, so you know what you're looking for, you type it into the search bar. And oh, I forgot to make my mouse bigger. Hang on one second. I find that this is helpful when I move around. So wait 1 second. Sorry, I'm going to make the cursor bigger so that it's easier to see what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. So now I have my big cursor. And so on the left-hand side, you have the search bar. So let's say I want to open Pirkei Avot. I can type in Pirkei and don't have to go very far. And I have a drop-down menu. I want to show you each time when we do the drop-down menu, because they're not all here, I want to show you the different icons we have that help you to know what you're opening. So if it's a book icon, then it's a book. So this is Pirkei Avot. Now it didn't know, because I only had written P-I-R-K, it didn't know if I wanted Pirkei Avot or Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. It's giving me all kinds of options. The hashtag is a topics page, which we'll look at in a minute. And the circle means that it's a group, which is somebody made a group, a collection of sheets, and they called it, this happens to be that there's 4 groups that have to do with Pirkei Avot. And that's what we have here. There are a few other icons, which I'll show you when we happen upon them. But I can write Pirkei Avot, and I can type in Hebrew. If my keyboard has Hebrew, I can do that. If I don't have a Hebrew keyboard, I can, the search bar always on the right-hand side has a keyboard, and I could click, and if I wanted to do it in Hebrew. A nice thing is that even if I have crazy transliteration spellings, it often knows what I'm looking for. So if I put in Pirkei Avot and I press enter, it is going to take me. Okay, let's do it. There we go. It's going to take me to the table of contents. And then I can navigate to whatever chapter I want. And we'll talk about the table of contents, which has a ton of information that's really, really helpful. We'll be spending time on a table of contents page in a second. I can change the language with the A Aleph button. This top line here we call the header. It has the Xing out, table of contents, and the A Aleph. And if I click on that, here it's just giving me a choice of language. If I were in Chumash, if I was in a Torah text, it would give me even more choices with vocalization, with the tropes, with vowels, without. So the A Aleph on every single text will give you lots of choices. This time, I'm going to do it again, only this time I'm going to put in a chapter number, so I can do it that way as well. Because I'll say I want to go to chapter 1, Mishnah 1. I can type it like that and press enter. Oh, wasn't supposed to do that. That's funny. Okay. Well, you can do that, except right now it's not. So I'm going to go to a different text. So I'm going to go a different way. So I can also click here from the library page. And here I have all of our different shelves, which we're going to talk about a little bit. I'm just going to take us right now to Pirkei Avot this way. And here I am on the first Mishnah. And if I click on it, again, this is kind of review probably for most of you. You can see on the side all of the connections. So every place in our library that either quotes the Pirkei Avot, mentions Pirkei Avot, this piece of it, it's on the side. So we have commentary, Talmud, Midrash, Halacha, from every part of our library. Everything is interconnected. So if I were to click on commentary, you can see that there are 120 comments from a whole list of commentators. I'm going to click on, you'll notice here, some are in black and some are in gray. The gray indicates that we have that commentary, but that commentator did not comment on this piece of text. So surprisingly, and I wouldn't have guessed this, but Rashi has nothing to say on the first Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. But Rambam had 3 things to say. And if you notice to the right, it indicates EN, which means that we have a complete English translation of Rambam on this text. If we don't have the EN, we might have a translation, most likely not. But you can always, if you're just looking for things that have an English translation, you can look for the EN. So I'm going to click on Rambam. It's going to take me to English on the top. Because this isn't in its full form, you'll see it in a minute. You can only change from all English or all Hebrew. And as I said, there were three, 1, 2, and 3. And here's his third comment. And you can see that Rambam quotes um, the Torah, quotes Leviticus, and quotes the Talmud. So that's connected as well. So if I open on the bottom here, it says open. And now I've opened it in its full form. And you can tell you're in the full form because I have the A Aleph where I can choose however I'd like to see it. And if I click on this text, I have another sidebar, another resource panel. And you can see here, this is what's connected to the Rashi. So we notice that he quotes Leviticus. And if I click on Tanakh, it will open up to the verse in Leviticus that he quoted. If I click on Talmud, it's going to give me what he quoted in Talmud. And that's really helpful because he might have quoted a little bit and I want something more. I want to see the whole thing. And I could keep going. I could now go from Moed Katan and I could see everything that's connected to that. And I can keep going and keep going. On the app, I can only open one at a time. On the website, it only depends how big your screen is. And as you can see, this gets you into the whole conversation of Jewish texts very easily. If you were in a library, in a physical library, you would have to walk around and pull this book off and pull that book off. And here you can click and you're already in a huge library of texts and you can see the breadth of what you can have, and you don't have to even know how to open it up. It's connected automatically. And so that is really a large part of the beauty of Sefaria, texts that you might not have in your house, texts you might not have seen before, and they're all interconnected. Besides these texts that are in our library, we have two more things I'd like to point out on the sidebar. And one is sheets. And if you notice on this piece of this first Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, we have 196 sheets that use this text. These sheets are created by our users. And so I click on it. First, it will be, I'm on the Sefaria education account. So it first gives you your own sheets. These don't happen to be public, so you wouldn't see them. But here I start seeing a list. We said there were, 196. If I were to scroll down, you would have 196 of them, of people who made source sheets that use this text. And in the top right, this little small, I can make it a little bigger. You can see a number with eyeballs. This is the number of people, the number of times that this text has been opened. So over 6,000 times people have looked at this sheet. So I might be interested in that sheet and want to know what's everybody looking at. And so I can click it and it'll open to where the text, this is the Pirkei Avot text, here it is. And I can scroll up. It could be at the beginning or the middle or the end of the sheet. And I can see how this person, Noah Marlowe, how he used the text. And he put in some questions and some explanations. And this is another way that I could find material that I'm interested in learning. So connecting on the side to the sheets, and you see the public sheets that are connected. The next thing is something that we've had for quite a while, but we have been encouraging people to use it more. We've been expanding it on our site, and this is web pages. Just a minute of background on how this works is we have what we call the linker that has been available for people for several years now. So if somebody has a website and they do Torah work on their website and they can put this piece of code on their site, and every time that they quote something that's in our library, it will be linked to it. And I'll show you what that means in a second. So that was our first step. The second step was, well, wait a second, we would love to have that piece of Torah that you've written, we'd like it on our site for our readers. And so it links back to us. So on this very popular Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, there are 238 web pages connected. So let me show you what I mean. These are all the organizations on the side here, a really wide variety of organizations that use our linker. I'm going to open from Rabbi Sachs, who was a big fan of Sefaria, and he had his linker on his website. And so he had five Divrei Torah, where he quoted this Mishnah. So let's look at this one. On Titzaveh, he had the counterpoint of leadership. So he was talking about leadership. So this Mishnah was helpful. It takes you right to Rabbi Sachs's site, where you could listen to him give this Devar Torah. He has an audio of it. And then you can see it's a little bit small. I'll make it a little bit bigger so that you can see. Let's see where he quoted. We're looking for, well, here he quoted Sanhedrin, and this is linked. And if I click on it, you can see here it is in Sefaria. Sometimes they have choices how they want to do it. Some of them you just hover over it and you see it. And somewhere here it is. He quoted ours. So there we click it and you can see the text. And if you want to go into the text by itself, you can click read more and it will take you right into the full Sefaria library. So this also opens up the library for you and gives you even more things that you can study on Sefaria. So we have the text, we have all of the different places in our library, in our database that are connected, and then we have source sheets that Sefaria users have used, and we have web pages that people who do, write Divrei Torah or different Torah pieces could use. If you know of somebody that you read their work and you think that they would be a great candidate for using our linker, you could write to us at hello and make that suggestion and we will reach out to them. We've been adding many, many people who are so excited to be on Sefaria. So one other thing that I want to, a couple other things on the sidebar before I take a break to take your questions, which you can write your questions in the chat and we'll get to them. So two more things that I want to show you. Let's start on the top. So let's say, let's see, do we want to do it on this one or a different one? Sure, let's stay with Pirkei Avot. And let's say I want to know, well, what is Pirkei Avot? This is something that we've had on the sidebar, but we moved it to the top. So you might have been familiar with it further down, and now it's for every single text in our library, it's on the top. You can click on about, and you'll learn about the text that you're looking at. So if I click on it, here's Pirkei Avot, it tells me when it was written. It gives me a little blurb about what it is, and then it tells me, well, what am I looking at? Where did this text come from? Where did Sefaria get this text? And it tells me about my current version of what I'm looking at. So this is the source of the, where I'm circling here is the source of the Hebrew text. And the translation that I'm looking at comes from Mishnah Yomit by Dr. Josh Culp. And it always tells me, you always know exactly about what you're looking at. But let's say some of our texts, we have more than one, sometimes we have more than one Hebrew version, and sometimes we have more than one translation. So if I go down on the sidebar to translations and I click on that, it will tell me now we actually have 4 translations for this text. And so I can choose what I want. It will default to the Mishnah Yomit by Dr. Joshua Culp, but we also have the Open Mishnah, we have a Sefaria Community Translation, and we have the Mishnah with Ovadia Bartanura by Rabbi Shraga Silverstein. Sometimes I like to compare translations and see, well, how did this one translate it? How did the other? So all I do is I click select translation. It'll give it to me just in English, but I can use my A Aleph to go back to bilingual if I would like. There we go. And now I have that Hebrew text with the Shraga Silverstein English, and I can choose what I like. I can compare them. You can see that he gives more of a commentary with it. It's not a straight translation. So that's why it's also really important to know who is it, what is it, to show you how it would change in the about. So now that I'm on this translation, now the about reflects that. It tells me my Hebrew is still Torah Emet, but my current translation is the Mishnah, is the Rabbi Shraga Silverstein translation. So, so I think it's really important to know what it is that you're looking at, and you can always find that in the about section, and you can change your what you have in the translations. The last thing, and then I'm going to let you do some questions, is, and this is something also that's on every single one of our texts, and that is, which I showed you before, which is how to open the table of contents. It's really important to know how to open the table of contents. It is always the name of the text in the header. So it's not down here, it's in this gray header, and I click on it and I'm in the table of contents. So the table of contents will tell me which category I'm in. So this is a Mishnah, tells me the name of the book, tells me the chapter, tells me a little bit about it. So now we have the Mishnah with Ovadia Bar Tanura. That's our English. And I'm going to make this bigger so that you can see, because this is really important. This is the 201 part. It will tell you the license. So sometimes people ask, how can I use this text? Can I put it in something that I'm printing? What can I do with it? So different texts are different. And this is the Creative Commons indication of how you can use it. So if this one is CC BY, this is referring to the Rabbi Shraga Silverstein translation. And if I click on it, it's linked right to Creative Commons. So it tells me, what does that mean? You don't even have to remember, whoops, and everybody is fundraising this time of the year. Okay, so it tells you, what does that mean? It means you're free to share it. You're free to adapt it under the following terms. You must give attribution. In this case, the attribution is to Rabbi Shraga Silverstein, not to Sefaria. And then there's no additional restrictions. We have a few texts where you can't use them for commercial purposes. We have some texts that don't have any copyright at all, that they've just been made free for anyone to use. So this is how you find out. This is really important if you're going to be reusing any of the texts, and people ask us this all the time, and it's always on the about section, and it's on the table of contents. I'm going to make this smaller so we can see everything. Also, we can navigate quite easily from the table of contents, especially the books that have many, many chapters. You can just click on any of these and you can go to it. For Chumash, you can do it by Parsha, you can by Aliyah. So that's very, very helpful. Oh, and actually I wanted to do this on I wanted to show you in Talmud. So let's open Talmud and let's open Masechet Sukkah. And here we're going to open the table of contents. Again, this is a different license. If you click on it, you'll find out what it allows you to do. But you can see how much easier it is to navigate here by chapter or by daf. And so that's a good thing to know. And here it will tell you how many versions we have. So in the Talmud, we have 2 English and 2 Hebrew, and it tells you what they are. And then you can choose them. And the last thing is to download the text. Sometimes people want to do that. So you would first click version settings and you would choose, let's say I want, which version of the text do I want? Do I just want Hebrew? Do I want English? Do I want bilingual? And then you choose your file format and then you download the text. So, so that is how you do that. So I'm going to stop because I just threw a lot of information at you, and I'm going to ask Lizzie to ask some questions.
Great. We have now 3 questions. There was some excitement about the linker feature, which is the one that brings up the web pages. And there was a question about if you could search a particular person to see if their web pages are connected.
No, but if you look on any page and you look at, right now, actually, Lizzie, do we have someplace a list of all of the?
I don't think we have a public list.
Okay, so we know, but okay, if you click on web pages, so on the side, you will see the list of what's connected back to us. Oh, no, look at here. It says sites that are listed here use the Sefaria linker. Oh, and so here we go. And there's, let's see, do we have a link? This talks all about it. Oh, nope, it doesn't. But it does teach you all about it. But really, if you aren't sure and you have your favorite site that you think would be really great, we were more than happy to approach whoever site it is and ask them And we give them support also. If they want to do it, we'll help them. Our engineers will help them to make it happen. It's a pretty easy process. And it's great because it's great for them. It's great for us. It's most great for our Sefaria users.
Wonderful, thank you. And then the next question is, are there special access privileges for subscribers or people who have Sefaria accounts that are not available to the general public?
So access to the full library is open to everybody. There are a few, and I'm happy to jump to this now. If you have a Sefaria account, which is free, if you have an account, there are a few things that you can do. So making source sheets, you have to have an account to make source sheets. To save text, so you see here on the screen, we have saved and we have history. So if I've saved any sheets, which is by clicking on the star icon on the top, I can show you that in a minute. That is only if you have an account, and you can see the history, you can see where you've been. Oh, well, for some reason, because we have a new thing that if you want to, you can disable history. This is brand new. In my account settings, this is brand new, which is why I'm not as used to it. Well, it does say that my reading history is on, but you could turn it off. And if you ever run into one of these little problems where it doesn't work as you expected, just write to us at hello@sefaria.org. Tell us exactly what happened, and we'll fix anything. So that's something. I'm going to show you a really cool new feature called Chavruta that you have to be signed in for, but access to the text is free for everybody. You do not need an account. Taking notes, that also you need an account. But most everything you can do without.
Great, thank you. And then we just have a couple more questions. How do you get vowels on Talmud sections other than Daf Yomi?
Okay, so we are adding the vowels, which is a time-consuming process, and we are committed to keeping up with the Daf Yomi calendar. So we might get ahead of things, but I think so far we're not really ahead. So the answer is we don't have further. But let me show if anybody, if you don't have, so basically the ones with the vowels, it's considered another version because some people don't want the vowels. So we want people to be able to choose. So what you would do is you would go to translations. It's not really a translation, it's a different version. And you can see that in the Hebrew, we have the vocalized Aramaic, which is my current version. If I wanted to turn off the vowels, it's not really turning them off, it's really showing another version. I could select the Aramaic without the vowels. But if I go further, like past Psachim, we're not there yet, but we are committed to keeping up with the Daf Yomi schedule, and perhaps we'll get ahead, but I don't know if that will happen.
Great, thanks. And while we're in the Talmud, could you go over the new Talmudic bios feature? We had a question about clicking on the rabbi's name.
I will do that a little bit later when I get to all the fun new stuff, if you don't mind.
So Dr. Santiago, we will go over your question at that time.
I have a few very fun new things, but we'll get there. Okay, let's just jump back in. Let's talk about finding. So far, we were kind of looking at things that we knew that we wanted. Let's go back to that library page. And here we have categories that we've made. Now, these are under reconsideration. These are not Torah Sinai of what's in what, and one could say, oh, this should go in the other, and we are always reviewing these, and we might make some changes, but these are the categories that we have right now. So liturgy, we have Sidurim, and we have Haggadahs, and we have Machzors, and again, all of this with the black lettering and the gray lettering has to do with a full English translation or not a full English translation. I want to point out, like looking at halacha. So for instance, here we have Mishnah Torah, and it's not, we do not have a full English translation of Mishnah Torah, but if I click on it and open to the like the library page of the Mishneh Torah, you'll see that much of it is translated. So these books are translated fully. And then you kind of go pretty deep in before you see that these ones are not, although here we are. So, so just because if it's if it's a big work like Mishneh Torah, like Shulchan Aruch, it will be marked as not, but you might still want to check once you get inside because parts of it might. So I can be looking around in all of these different, these are like the stacks in the library where you'd find the different subjects. You can look around there to be finding what you're looking for, but also in our search bar, I can put in a topic. Let's say I want to know about the 10th of Tevet, Asar Tevet. So I could click in 10 and I'm going to get a drop-down menu. And before I click on something, I'm going to show you a few more of our icons. So the hashtag, which I mentioned as a topics page, that's what I'm going to click on in a second. This I don't know how to describe it. This one here, it's a 4 squares. This means that it's a category. And this quill means that it's an author. And in a little bit, I'll show you what those author pages look like, but the Baal Shem Tov is an author. But here you have somebody who is called by the name of his book, which is very common. So you have the book and you have the author. So this tells you what you're clicking on, so you know what you want to click on. And then this is one of our newer features, is that you can also search for a Sefaria user that publishes public source sheets. So their names would also come up. And I'll show you that in a little bit as well. But let's go to the 10th of Tevet on a topics page. This is what a topics page looks like. We have thousands of these. Here it tells you what category it is. It's in holidays. It gives you a little blurb about what it is. It's a minor fast day. It doesn't tell you, but it is coming up on Friday, which is why I picked it. It tells you some sources that mention it, that might be people might use when they're talking about it, and also sheets. So we click here to toggle between sources and sheets. So this is someplace if I'm interested in, oh, what is the 10th of Tevet? I'd like to know a little bit more. What are the major sources for it? I can look on that here. The star that I had mentioned, we have on the top of everything, we have a star. Let's say I'm looking through and I want to look at it later. I can save it by clicking on the star, and then on the library page, I would go to my saved texts. This 3 lines next to it tells how did this get here? So the way that we figured out what should be on the sources is by sheets that people have made that have been tagged. So let's say the people who made sheets that were tagged the 10th of Tevet, the most common sheets that they put on most common text that they put on their sheets would be on here. And also we used an encyclopedia called Asfaclaria. So where they mentioned, we put it there as well. You can filter them. These ones, this only has a few, but some things have a lot of text. They default by relevance by how often they're mentioned. But if I wanted a chronological, let's say I want to do something on Jewish law and I want to see its progress through how it developed, its development over time, I could do chronological. It'll start with the Torah texts, so the Tanakh texts, the Mishnah texts, keep going chronologically. So depending on what you're looking for in sheets, you filter by, it defaults to relevance, but you could do the number of views if you want to see the most popular ones. You might want to see the newest ones. You might think that some of the newer sheets might be more relevant to what you're doing. On the side, there's always related topics. So the 10th of Tevet, kind of think, well, maybe somebody would be interested in other minor fast days like the 17th of Tammuz or Tzom Gedalia. And this would take you to those topic pages. So this is a place where you can just hours of learning could happen here, that you start with something and then it piques your interest in something else, and then you study that and you go to something else. So these are all great ways into the texts with the topics pages. If anyone has any questions for topics, uh, let's see, do we have any?
It looks like we don't at this time.
Okay, great. So we're going to keep going, which is great because we're going to get to some really good stuff. I want to show you about the authors. It's important also, the point of this is to show you where there's so much information about our text. We want you to know, you might be finding things that you didn't ever knew it existed or you never opened before. And we want you to be able to know what it is that you're looking at. So we have author pages, which I had mentioned. We'll start with, let's look at a text, Legends of the Jews. So maybe you've never heard of it, you've never opened it, you see it, you read it, looks kind of nice, but you'd like to know, I mean, it's important to know who wrote it. So if we go to the table of contents, here you see it's Midrash, you see what it is, and I'm going to make this bigger because it's very small, and it says the author. It also says it here. It also tells you it's in the public domain. But if this is linked, so if I want to see who Louis Ginsburg was, I click on it, and this is what an author page looks like. It tells me when he lived. It gives me a paragraph about him. It gives me a link. If I'd like to learn more, I could find, this would take me to the link to the article about him in Wikipedia or in the Jewish Encyclopedia. And then it lists the works that we have on Sefaria of his works. So some people like Rambam, the list would be very long. They're all hyperlinked. So you could click on it and go right into the library. We also have a map to tell you where the person lived. So here, and there's are all, if you hover, it shows you where he was born. And if you go over to New York, you can see that he composed the work in New York and he also died there. And if you go a little bit south of New York, you get Philadelphia, and that's where it was published. So it gives you information, and we have lots and lots of these author pages. If from the library page, we also have a link directly to authors. So if you want to just look up an author, you could do it that way. And you could click on any of these, it would take you to their author page. You also could search for an author. And again, you'll know here's his books, and here with the quill, that's his author page. While we're doing this, I want to show you how you can also search for a person on Sefaria who writes and publishes by making it public, their sheets. So I'm going to type in Sarah Wolkenfeld, who is Sefaria's Chief Learning Officer. She's written a lot of sheets. So you'll see that if the person has added a profile picture, it'll come up. If not, it'll just be like this little person guy. So I click on her. And this is also important. If I'm looking at somebody's sheet, we only have the information that people give us, but sometimes I want to know who is that person who wrote the sheet. I won't always know because it's up to the author if they want to put their information, but here she put her position at work, her educational background. You can follow the person if you want to be notified every time the person publishes a new sheet. Let's say you have a question about the sheet, or for whatever reason you want a message, you can do that. And then you have a list of all of the person's sheets, which you can click on. Another part of our library that not everybody is aware of that I think you might be interested in is our reference books. So we have a reference section, and if I click on the reference section, you'll see that we have the Jastrow, the Klein, and this one is new. This gives you the French words that Rashi uses, a dictionary of those. But let's concentrate on the Jastrow and the Klein. So if I click on here, I could go right to the library, to the dictionary, open the table of contents, and as opposed to chapters or however things, this is by alphabet. I can click open on a letter. I also have a search bar. I could type a word. I can do it in Hebrew if I type in Hebrew on my computer, or over to the right, we have that keyboard. We have a drop-down menu. I can click on whatever I want, and I'll see the entry. That's one way of using the reference, but probably not the most used way. Another way you can do it is by right within the text. So I'm going to open just randomly a text, and I'm going to open the resource bar on the side. And now I'm going to double click on a word. I double click on the word and the dictionary opens on the side. Now this is, we also have a Tanakh dictionary, and that's where this comes from. It always tells you the source on the bottom. So you just double click, and that's how it goes. You also can, so let's say if I were in Talmud, I'm just gonna, again, kind of randomly click something, um, and we'll see what we get. Here we go. We'll double click here. Whoops, you do it when you do it when it's open. And here we go. Here we have, and it'll tell you, this is very small, but you can always make it bigger on your screen. This first entry is from the Jastro, and the second one is from Jastro, and then down on the bottom is from the Klein Dictionary. So, so that is another way you can use them. You also can use it from the sidebar this way. Click on dictionaries, you'll get the same thing, and you also could search the dictionary from here. So lots of ways to do this. On the apps, it is different of what you can do. You can do more on the iOS, on the iPhone app than you can on Android. That is just has to do with how they both work. Yeah. I want to show you, I need to move something here. Sometimes people ask, how do I know when there are new texts that have been added to Sefaria? So if you look all the way on the right where my cursor is, first, this is the profile button, which for you will probably be either your initials, or if you added a photo, it would be there. This is our Sefaria education account. So instead of a photo, we added our logo. But that's that takes you to your profile page. To the left of that, here it's gray with a 0, which means that there have been no new text since the last time I clicked on this button. But if there were new text, it would be red, and it would have a number, and the number inside is the number of new text. But I can still click on it, and it gives me all kinds of notifications. It also says if somebody's following you, if somebody gives you a message, you would find it here. But you can see here's this dictionary of Rashi's French glosses. And that was added a month and a week ago. And it also is hyperlinked, so I could go right there and I can see what's new. So this is one way. So if you open you log into your account and you see a number, that tells you that there are new things. There is another way that you can find updates. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom to the footer, it says new additions right here on the bottom. I click on it, and now it won't have like the messages and all those, but it will tell me, and this will just keep scrolling down, and I can see what new texts were added, what they are, and when they were added. So that's a useful thing to know. Unless there are other questions now, or okay, great. We're going to keep going. I want to show you 3 new features, which I'm so excited to share with you. So the first one is, I'll go into Mishnah. And let's say I have a study friend, a chavruta that I'd like to study with, who's not in my house right now. And I would like to study together on Sefaria, but I'd like to see this person. So we have combined the text with a video chat feature, and it's really great. And I'm so excited about it. What you do, it's super easy. I click to open on the side. So I picked the text. Let's say my chavruta and I are going to study Mishnah Brachot, the first Mishnah. And I scroll down and I click on chavruta. You can see that there's a little camera icon because this is our video feature. So now what I do is it gives me a link. I would take this link, I would copy it. I'm actually not going to do that right now. I would send it to my partner. I could do it on an email. I could do it on a text. I could do it on WhatsApp, however I send things to my partner. And then I'm going to click start call. And when I start the call, there I am. I'm in the top here, and it's waiting for my chavruta because I've sent that link to my chavruta. And when she gets on, her picture will be in the bottom, her video. If something happens and I'm already here and she didn't get it, I can also, here is also the link, I can try again. It will open to the same spot. Now, it's not like linked together, so I can move my library, she can do hers, which is great because let's say we're studying together and I want to check out some commentary, I can just do that and my partner can be doing something else. I might say, why don't you look up this and I'll look up that. But we would both be here, seeing each other, talking with each other. And to get out of it, we just X out on the top, we just close it, and that ends our Chavruta session. It is super great. If you are doing adult education or any type of thing like that, synagogues, we have something that we call Chavruta Roulette that we can help you with. If you'd like to do some adult ed with people all over and you want to set them up with partners to learn, that's something that our education department can help you with. You can just send us an email at hello@Sefaria. We're happy to help you with that. Another new feature is in the Torah, and that is, I'll pick a different book, and that is our Torah reading feature. If you click down, scroll down, Torah readings, and you have a little, whatever that's called. And if you click on it, we have every verse of the Torah. The Torah reading is recorded. I'm not going to play it because you won't hear it. I don't have my Zoom set up that way, but all you do is you click the button and a person will chant that verse of the Torah. And we have it for every single verse of the Torah. And that is brand new and can be very helpful. And now, for being so patient, this is one of my favorite new features in the Talmud, the rabbis in the Talmud. So if I click open something, and I'll be in Hebrew, but it's Hebrew or English, this is brand new. When I'm learning Gemara, when I'm learning Talmud, I want to know, who is this rabbi? This rabbi is talking to that rabbi. Who is that? Who is he? So if I hover over and I see a dotted line, I click on it and it opens on the side. It opens and tells me who this rabbi is. It tells me when he lived. He's a 5th generation Amora, when this is around when he lived, and it tells me something about it. He was a student of this person, he learned with that person, and I can just keep going and I can leave it open. I don't have to close it in between. Let's find somebody else. Of course, I picked somebody who, oh, here we go. Now this one does not have, Rabbi Eliezer does not, so nope, but he does. So click it anyway. And it tells us that this is Rabbi Eliezer Hirkanus and tells you a little bit about him, and you can keep doing that. And this is a wonderful aid in Talmud study. Every once in a while, there's somebody where it's not clear who he is. It'll say that, and we don't have, there isn't everybody, but here's another one, Rabbi Shimon, who's Shimon Bar Yochai. So that's how that works. Super easy and super, super helpful. Couple more things before I show you some other, I want to point out some lesser known texts, but I want to just mention that if there's a text that we don't have that you would be interested in, we have a form for you to fill out. There's a link to it on the source sheet that we sent you, that we'll be sending you, and that was in the chat. You should know that we often have constraints due to copyright, more on the translation part, because many translations are still under copyright. But please let us know anyway, even if you think that it's not something we'll be able to get, because it's really good for us to know what people are interested, to know what it is that we should be going after. We talked about making accounts already. Also, a lot of these notifications of things that we have, of new texts, new features, webinars, you can find by signing up for our newsletters, following us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Let's get back to the library. I want to show you a few lesser known gems in our library, and things that just happen to excite me. So I hope maybe you'll like some of them as well. In the responsa section, responsa are letters that were written to rabbis asking halachic questions, questions of Jewish law. So we have, some of these traditional ones, but we have, this is so fascinating. When we got this, I have to admit that I just spent all my time reading it. We have collected responsa in wartime and collective responsa to chaplains. And if you open this up, that this was from World War II. Chaplains in the American Armed Services, a chaplain of any denomination serves the religious needs for all of the soldiers for whatever religion that they are. So they might sometimes need guidance. So they put together this group, and actually in the introduction, it tells you a little bit about them. It was a Reform, Conservative, and an Orthodox rabbi together who, here in the introduction, tell you who they are, who sat together to answer these questions, to give guidance. And you can see the types of questions, if you look in the table of contents, the types of questions that people were asking and that the different chaplains needed some guidance on. Head covering the national anthem, conversions, all kinds of marriage issues. And it's just fascinating how they answered them. So we have two sets of those. In the liturgy section, we have, I mentioned that we have Haggadot. And in the commentary section, we have something that's very special. We have a rabbi, Rabbi Mark Greenspan. He's now retired, but when he had a congregation in, I don't want to say Long Beach, but I don't know. Is that New York? I don't know. It was in New York someplace. What he would do is every year before Pesach, for the fast of the firstborn, what he would do was he would translate, this was for his siyum, he would translate a Haggadah commentary. And he offered to donate them to us, to put them on Sefaria so that other people could enjoy them. So all of these Haggadot commentaries we have with a full English translation, thanks to Rabbi Mark Greenspan. We also have Nechama Leibowitz's Gilionot, her source sheets. She was the inventor of the source sheet. It's her form, and her family made it happen that they could be on Sefaria. And where you can find them under commentary. And let's see, did I pass it? Okay. I'll show you where you can find it. Let me try that again. Let's try that again. Let's go. Let's do this way. Okay, I'm going to try it the way I did it before. And we're going to go to the commentary. And okay, I've done this so many times. Let's do it a different way. Let's look in the sidebar. And if this isn't right, I'm going to go to a different way. Okay, so let's look under commentary. Oh, there we go. Nechama Leibowitz in the commentary, but these are the Hebrew ones. So I actually sort of having a brain freeze, but I do want to show you, we also can find them under groups because we made a group of her sheets. Hers were a little tricky to how do we connect them to the library because they're not like a traditional commentary. So we made a group of her sheets, and eventually I'm going to, wow, where'd she go? Do it this way. Whoops. Anyway, you can write me about here's her group. Okay, so here's the group. If you want to find this and I just messed up on it, you can write to hello@Sefaria and I will give you a more thoughtful way to get there. But it's by every parsha, so there's 30 sheets. These are in Hebrew for every parsha, but we translated one for every parsha. We translated one in English. So if you click on the English ones, Here it says the title in Hebrew, but if you look, the tags are in English. So like for Parshat Bo, I could click on it, and here is Nechama Leibowitz's sheet for Parshat Bo. Okay. I would like to go to the, and I'm going to try to do everything in 3 minutes. In the philosophy section, I want to just show the breadth of text that we have. In philosophy, you can go from Kol Dodi Dofek over here on the left-hand side, and that's Rabbi Soloveitchik in the 1900s, his book on philosophy, a classic book. You can go to the Guide for the Perplexed, which is Rambam's from the 1100s, and you could go to 19 Letters, which is Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch in the 1800s. So a wide range of times, a wide range of perspectives. And my last book that you might not have even thought would be on our site, in Modern Works, we have, here we have some books that were written in English. Here's Redeeming Relevance Exodus. It's a book which is written by someone who does some translations for us, Rabbi Francis Nataf. It's a really interesting book. I have to say that I did read this also while I was working because it was so interesting. But his, a book on Exodus and his perspective is very, very nice. I'm going to leave room for questions. I'm sorry, I had more things to show you. Our visualizations you should play around with if you need any help with explanations. Visualizations here. These are very fun. They are explained. You can write to hello. I'm happy to explain. I want to also mention that Sefaria is a nonprofit, and we get support from foundations, but we really appreciate support from individual users. We have several different ways to support us. We have a sustainer monthly donation program. You could be a one-time donor. We have a sponsor a day of learning, which we're currently running a sale till the end of the year. So here, well, today's it's anonymous, but this is where it would show where you could write, people do it in memory of somebody to mark an occasion. And we'll work with you with how you'd like to phrase it. Those are $180 to have a day, which is a half price sale. And we also have a Sefaria store where we sell all kinds of fun things like sweatshirts and mugs and things like that. And that's on the bottom where it says shop. So I thank you for spending an hour with us. We have future webinars coming up. I don't know, I forgot to ask Lizzie to put that in the chat. Maybe you did. It will also be on this sheet that we will mail to all of you after we put along with the recording, so that you'll have all of these links that you need. Any questions?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Rachel. This has been really fun. We did have a question if we could go back to the how to download a text just to review that.
Sure. Yeah.
Great. And
Okay.
for anyone who needs to leave, please feel free to leave. And thank you so much for coming.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to just open anything. And so it's through this is for downloading. You want it on your computer. On the app, you also can download. That's a whole different thing for using offline. But okay, so it's on the table of contents page. And you scroll down to the bottom and you choose what you want. So here you have many choices because we have different English translations. So you would pick what it is that you want, and you choose your file format. We do not have PDF, is not one of our choices. If you do want to do something, it would not be a whole book like this, but if you wanted to do something, you could do it like a chapter. You could do it through, I'll show you, you could do it through using your printing option on your computer. You do Control P, and you can designate, instead of a printer, you can save it as a PDF. But this would be the chapter and not the whole book. Does that answer your question?
I'm not sure. I mean, hi.
Hi.
I didn't understand all of the choices when you clicked on, you could try this, you could try this, but
yeah. Okay. So actually, I mean, I personally actually forgot what each of these are. They're different formats. People who know the more technical side know, but first you're going to pick what you want. So here you can have a merged version of English or Hebrew. You got to play around, with it of what you want. It's not always going to be the most, you then usually have to take it and put it into something else. I'll do one right now. Let's try, I forgot which one I want to do. Let's try this one. I'll download it and we'll just see what happens. Yeah, so it's not going to come as, this is how it will download. And then I could copy it and put it into something else. It's not always the easiest way. I mean, basically Sefaria is an online internet project, but we do have things for people to do. If you need to download something, I can, if you write to me, I can try to help you or ask one of the engineers to try to help you. But in general, there's also making a sheet, putting something on a sheet and then printing from that, or doing this from the printer to do the, did you get that one from the printer to do the PDF? Yeah. Okay. So that's another way of getting text. Are there other questions?
Those are all the questions that I received in the chat, but
Okay.
if there are any other
anybody
last
has questions, later on that you think of, or you feel that the explanation wasn't good enough, that's fine. Just write to me. Even if we need to do a phone call, that's fine. But I will, I'll get your questions answered. Don't worry. And don't feel like you're bothering us. We're happy to help you through any of this. But the downloading part is the trickier part. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for doing this.
Here. Oh, now I can see you. Great. Thanks. Have a good evening or day.